Hey guys, it's me, Gabriel of the Wolfpack, your young healer, here with your morning boost about when temptation comes a knocking. So, as we all probably have endured and encountered, we've all experienced temptation in one form or another. It all inevitably leads back to the ego, to this sense that you are a body and that through the body that it can be an ends, and as such is where salvation can rest, and that it is real, and that you are subject to its frailty and weakness, simply put. And then pretty much from that fear, guilt, hate, anger, weakness, all this stuff comes about out of it, these images. Because and this is what I caught I caught myself after the fact. Naturally that's how it happens. You're like, oh, why didn't I think of that beforehand? But bless our hearts, God's trying to figure out a way to help us out the next time. And that is the biggest thing to remember in all of this is that before I get in, there's like 3 things you can do to help make sure keep your thought on the right path. But one thing to remember with all of this is that regardless of what may seem to happen in these passing circumstances, that cannot change who you are, your true sense of innocence that God has willed for you when He created you. Nothing can change that. Because I think we feel that we've got such a black stamp upon ourselves that we can't go forward. We feel so caught up with the guilt. And God wouldn't have you have that, not for a second. It's this kind of like darkness isn't something that is created, but is the absence of light. And it's not that God's abandoning you, but rather you're in a sense abandoning yourself. And that's why, the whole dynamic of doing away with and having our self-concepts be undone is important, because many of them have been born out of fear. But our self-identity, which is the spiritual self that we exhibit, that has always been eternal. It doesn't get affected by the things of this world. And because it's of God, it's constant. So, now we got that out of the way. Don't have much time. But, so the 3 things are, when address the ego thoughts, as it were, the temptation, when it knocks, not once it's entered. Because once it's in your thought and you've admitted it, and like you're in that process of going towards that temptation, whatever it may be, it is really hard to just stop it. And don't try and just provoke the ego like, I'm gonna do it, and then I'm gonna hold back. I'm gonna stop out right at the last minute. It's like trying to walk to the edge, see how close you can get to the edge of a cliff, and be like, oh, then I'm not gonna jump. But all too many times, once we allow that in, it's too late. So you have to address it. And for however much it may seem to inconvenience you, to address it, like maybe you're trying to go to sleep and it keeps on just trying to bug you. It's better to wake up or get up and like meditate and get out of that position that you were when you were getting tempted, to break up the mold, as it were, and face it, address it. And then, because if you just allow it, it's gonna cause you more inconvenience if you don't. So the second thing then, after you've done that, is in the addressing process, it's really important to separate yourself from the ego, to recognize that temptation, what have you, that is not your own thought. The ego is very slippery and sly in its ways to make you believe that it is your thoughts, because then it's hidden. You can't tell. But then when you really focus and recognize, this is not me, and you're separating the chaff from the wheat, as it were, then you're able to like see the problem for what it is and address that. And then once you do that, the biggest part of all this is that it's not unto you that you do this by yourself, that you bring your ego, your temptation, whatever it may be, to the Holy Spirit. See, I think a lot of us it doesn't sit well, apparently, with the fact that the Holy Spirit does 90% of the job while we only need to do about 10%. He does the heavy lifting. That's where I get the tithing dynamic, the tithing, 10% as it were, and the Holy Spirit does the other 90. But the thing of it all is that all you have to do is just give a little willingness, and He'll take care of the rest, man. It works best when you do it together. And He'll help you. Just call out His name, and let me tell you, the man answers. But you gotta call out in love. You know, you gotta call out in peace and forgiveness, and you have to want that too. But yeah, so that's what I got for you folks. Hope this has helped. But from the Wolf Pack and from me, we wish you well. Godspeed.